Episode 145. The Most Delicious Thing. Jade could only hold on to Dario to support her body. Dario lowered his head and kissed her lips. She could clearly feel his tongue moving in her mouth. Because both of them had drank red wine, there was a strong smell of it in their mouths. But even if the two of them did not drink, they still would have been fascinated while kissing. Jade felt a numbing sensation coming from her mouth. She kept dodging, but Dario could easily find her tongue. He gently sucked on it. He kept teasing her, making her body even softer. She could not even stand steadily. Dario reached out and held her behind. He could not wait to pick her up. He kissed her and carried her to the bedroom. Jade's eyes were very charming. She stared at him closely. At this moment, her appearance was very tempting. He could not help but want to make love to her. By the time Jade could react, he had already pushed her down onto the soft bed. Just when Dario wanted to kiss her again, Jade suddenly stretched out her somewhat powerless hand. She wanted to stop him, but she gasped and asked, "Mr. Foster, what do you want?" She was breathing heavily, her chest heaving up and down. At this moment, she was very seductive. "To eat you." A low voice sounded in her ear. Jade could not help trembling when she heard this. She lowered her head shyly and pretended not to understand. "Mr. Foster, I am not food. Why do you want to eat me?" "You are the most delicious thing in the world." Dario kissed her again. He kept sucking on her tender lips as if he was tasting the delicacies of the world. His eyes became more and more intoxicated. The light in the bedroom was not turned on. Only the faint moonlight shone in. She could clearly see his silhouette. She tried to push his sturdy chest away, but the more she resisted, the harder his kiss became. His movements became more and more violent, as if he wanted to put her whole body into his body. The distance between them was getting closer and closer. Despite wearing all their clothing, she could feel his hot chest underneath his shirt. She didn't know when Dario had taken off his suit jacket. He had already unbuttoned his shirt, revealing his strong chest and hard muscles. Under the night sky, the atmosphere between them became more and more passionate. "Mr. Foster, don't be like this." Jade, who was fascinated by the kiss, immediately reached out and pinched her thigh. She hoped that the pain could keep her calm. She did not want to experience the feeling from the night before. His kiss always fascinated her, and then he would suddenly ignore her. Although he was very handsome, he could not keep casually teasing her like this. He could be enthusiastic at one moment and at the next one, very cold. It was truly unbearable for her. Jade kept reminding herself that she could not do this anymore. She needed to remain very reserved. She could no longer fall in love with his kiss. She was sure that even with 1,000 years of practice, she could not defeat the man in front of her. Jade forcefully turned her head to the side, not letting his kiss touch her slightly swollen lips. She pushed him away and escaped to the edge of the bed, deliberately keeping a distance from him. Her chest kept rising and falling, and her head felt a little dizzy, but she wanted to keep herself awake. She had to make the right choice when she was awake. After Dario was rejected by her, he did not do anything else. Her actions had also gone outside of his expectations. This was not the first time she had pushed him away, but the atmosphere between them had never been so awkward. The originally warm and romantic mood had suddenly dropped to a freezing point. In an instant, only the sound of two people's breathing was left in the darkness. This was a terrifying silence. The moonlight shone on Jade's beautiful face. She sat on the edge of the bed, breathing heavily. After a long time, she slowly opened her mouth to speak. "Mr. Foster, I beg you, don't do this to me, okay? I really—" Jade almost trembled. She did not know how much of her courage it took to say these words. "It is very uncomfortable." Dario said what she wanted to say next. Jade was stunned and did not reply. She just tightly bit her lower lip. She always felt that in front of him, she would never have secrets. She was indeed very uncomfortable. This kind of thing should make anyone feel uncomfortable. Dario slowly moved over from behind her. He held her body and let her rest in his arms. "Tell me why you feel uncomfortable." Dario's magnetic voice was beautiful. It kept attracting her, making her want to tell the truth. Jade pulled his hand away from her waist. She gritted her teeth and said stubbornly, "I don't feel uncomfortable at all." "Then why are you angry?" "I'm not angry at all." Weren't you angry at me yesterday? Well, you treated me like that the day before yesterday. Why can't I be angry? They looked at each other and fell into silence. Why didn't you tell me your true feelings? Daria asked in a deep voice. He was confused. He forced her to look at him. She wanted to lower her head, but Dario did not give her this chance. He held her chin tightly and made her look up at him. I'm telling you the truth. I don't know what else you want to know, Jade said calmly. I just want to know what you think. This is what I really think, Mr. Foster. I know you're good to me, but you keep teasing me. This makes me very sad. The more Jade spoke, the more she choked. She looked very sad. Just as she wanted to say something else, he kissed her hard. It was different from the gentle kiss just before. He even reached out and pressed the back of her head so that the two of them could kiss even more deeply. Jade felt a little suffocated. She was dizzy because of his kiss. She almost could not breathe. In the end, she couldn't take it anymore and started hitting his chest, but he still did not plan to let go. She could only bite his lips. Although his lips didn't bleed, she bit very hard and he felt some pain. He frowned slightly. He knew that she could not take it anymore, but he could not bear to let go of her. At this moment, he looked very unhappy, but there was no emotion in his eyes. It was impossible to see his true thoughts.